The Nasdaq hits new all-time highs. Does this mean that we could also get new all-time highs for other things such as crypto and the S&P 500? So take a look at this chart here, the Nasdaq. We have just broken through into a new all-time high. Now let's look on the daily. We just recently broke through in the last couple days. We have not gotten a weekly close confirmation yet. So it might be a good idea to wait until the end of the month until we can see the weekly and the monthly close to see if we are going to continue upwards. Let's zoom in here, upwards like that. Or, if we're going to go like that, or what can also happen is a fake out where we head back down to retest some other areas of support, maybe such as around here. The interesting thing is that when we look at other charts, such as the S&P 500, the S&P has not broken out into a new all-time high just yet. So it looks like the technology stocks are leading this run. If we look at the Dow Jones, not even really close for the Dow Jones. Still has a lot of work to do to make a new all-time high. The Russell 2000 has a lot more work to do, a lot more to go. And so perhaps it's stocks such as Nvidia, that are breaking into a new all-time highs, technology stocks. So, wow, looking like things are going a little bit risk on. But in terms of the macroeconomics, we still have some work to do, like I just showed you, S&P 500, Dow Jones. So if we will also be looking at the Nasdaq astrology. So for those astrology enthusiasts, stay tuned for that. If you are not into astrology, then what are you doing on this channel? But if you are skeptical, I encourage you to continue to watch this video to see how you can get an edge on the charts with astrology. Okay, we might as well look at some other things here. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, what questions you may have. And we can look at the RSI. And we've been getting lower highs on the RSI here ever since the peak of July of last year. Then we got a crash into August of last year. So that was well, really, we were making, we actually made a peak on the stochastic RSI all the way back in June of 2 years ago. And then another almost peak in February of last year when crypto was doing really well. And then another peak, like I just said, July of last year. And then we've been getting, as you can see, ever since then, we've been getting lower highs, and we'll see if we get another lower high here. But interesting that we dropped all the way down to 28 on the RSI on that crash that we had in April with the Trump tariffs. And we've been heading up pretty well since then. What we want to see, this is what we need to see if we really break out, if we really want to see a macro market breakout, which would spill over undoubtedly into Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and technology stocks, and everything would go flying to the moon, is we would need to see this really get past this level at 70 on the RSI and break through here and get up to like 74 again. We want to get past especially 64, these levels over here, and 67. If we can break through there, that would be a very good indicator. But we have to wait till the weekly and monthly close because there is a chance that we correct back down again, and we might have some more months to go. We'll see if the astrology has any hints on where we're going to go with that. If we look at the stochastic RSI, we are also just about peaking. We got to 97, almost to 100, so it wasn't completely oversold territory. But we got to wait for this weekly close because it looks like we could be getting a stochastic RSI cross down, and that would signal a correction. So if we do get a cross down here next at the end of the month, around June 30th, then we could be seeing a momentum shift down, which would likely bring a market correction. Otherwise, in the bullish case, we could just be hanging out up here. But it's a little concerning that we've already gotten to way oversold territory in the stochastic RSI, signaling that things are kind of leaning towards we could be overheated in the Nasdaq chart right here, meaning we could have another correction. And one thing I'm comparing this to is, so we got the all-time high recently in February, and then we're making a new all-time high. We saw something kind of similar to this. I'm thinking we could see something similar, kind of like we saw back in October 2018, and then the markets crashed for many weeks down here, and then we headed way back up. We made a new all-time high right here, and we came back up for one more week, but then we had another correction here. So what happened with the RSI back then? Well, similarly, we were making lower highs and lower highs and more lower highs, signaling that the market momentum was losing steam, and it had to build out this base of support here to start making some higher lows before it breaks out here. And that's really when the market really, it got an all-time high here, but it dropped, and then another all-time high, and then a drop, and then another, and then a drop, and it didn't really break out fully until a few months later. So I'm not saying it's going to happen exactly like that, but it's certainly possible we could see something like that. Okay. So that would be the more boring case where we get this really, a dump, and there's this really choppy action here where it takes some time. I mean, how many months was that? It was like April 2019 all the way to arguably until like October 19th. So that was 182 days. How many months is that? I guess that's like 6 months. Well, so that would be the most boring case, is if we get something like that. So that would take us out 6 months. That would, in the most boring case, that would take us out to the end of the year before we get a true breakout. So for the crypto enthusiasts, yeah, maybe the slowest case scenario could take out to the end of the year before we get a massive run like we've all been hoping for. Similar to like the 2021 bull run where things just went absolutely gangbusters. So in the worst case, yeah, there could be a 6-month wait. So I'm like mentally preparing for that. Okay. What we also do on this channel is we look at the astrology. So for those who really cannot stand astrology, you might want to leave now and leave it for the astrology enthusiasts to enjoy this. And if you're skeptical, if you're on the, kind of in the middle, then definitely stay on and just kind of feel into this. Take it or leave it. You can always take it or leave it. No pressure whatsoever. All right, so this is based on the Nasdaq astrology, February 8th. That's actually my birthday, guys. But actually, so let's go back here. So February 8th, 1971 in New York was when the Nasdaq started. If you want to double check that yourself, let me know in the comments what date you get, but that was the one I got. All right, so if we look at the astrology for the next 3 months, these are the transits so basically where the planets are in the sky right now, this is where the transits that they're making to this Nasdaq astrology chart. So we can see kind of how the planets are interacting with this birth chart for the Nasdaq. And let's see if we get any hints here. Well, the good news is that, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of positive transits, which could signal more bullish activity for the Nasdaq. We get Pluto sextiling the Nasdaq Neptune, slightly positive July 12th. All right, so we're going to be looking into July. And then we get Uranus, the planet of crypto, sextiling the Nasdaq moon, which is really positive. You know, with Uranus being the planet of crypto, sextiling a very sensitive area on the chart. The moon is arguably one of the most sensitive areas, also the sun. So it's making that transit, that positive sextile on July 12th. So there's actually a lot of positives for the Nasdaq on the 12th. Towards the end of this month, there's a bunch of minor negatives. So could we see a bit of correction in the next week or so? It's possible, maybe a minor one. Nothing too worrisome. And then even heading into August, we get Uranus, the planet of crypto, trining the Nasdaq Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of trade. So we're talking about the Nasdaq. There's a lot of trading that happens here. And there's a lot of technology stocks involved in this with Uranus. So that's super positive on August 8th. Could things be continuing up into August? Not bad. We do get a minor negative, Jupiter squaring the Nasdaq Uranus. That's a bit negative on the 9th. So maybe we get some more bullish momentum. Maybe we do hold up pretty strong with the Nasdaq. If not, even make another higher or continue to make all-time highs. It's certainly possible. So I would normally be like pretty bullish on this. The only caveat, as people like to say, is if we look at some of these other charts, such as the S&P 500, the S&P 500 astrology chart is looking a lot more bullish. So, a lot less bullish, a lot more bearish. We're getting Pluto squaring the S&P Neptune on August 4th, and then we're getting Uranus squaring the S&P Mercury. It's almost like similar transits, but negative for the S&P. But heading into the first half of August, we do get this really bullish Jupiter trining the S&P Sun, which is actually really bullish in August. So maybe if we can get through the woods in July, maybe there's choppy action in July. Maybe we could make a new all-time high with the S&P 500 in August, which would likely be good for crypto. Then if we look at the Dow Jones, then we do get some positive transits for the Dow Jones. We get Saturn trining the Dow Jones moon June 22nd and August 3rd. And then we also get Neptune trining the Dow Jones moon all the way through August. August 23rd, we get an exact hit. That's quite positive. But I thought we had some more bearish. Let's see. Oh, the Dow Jones is actually not so bad. Dow Jones is actually pretty bullish. So Dow Jones could definitely break out into a new all-time high. Either in July or August, probably heading into August. Wow, so that's looking good for the Dow Jones. We like that. Okay, not bad. Now we can compare that to Bitcoin for a moment here. So Nasdaq and Dow Jones is looking good, so that's very good. But then Bitcoin, definitely July could be another volatile month. I mean, we're getting this really positive transit tomorrow. Uranus trining the Bitcoin Jupiter on June 28th. And that's very bullish. Now we've gotten to like what have we gotten to? Like 107,000 Bitcoin recently. It's not making a new all-time high. It could in the next 24 hours. But if it doesn't, then things get a little dicey. yeah, things get a lot more bearish. So yeah, let's see. Jupiter is squaring the Bitcoin moon on June 30th, right at the end of the month. So we could get a little dump for Bitcoin. And then, unfortunately, we're getting Jupiter opposing the Bitcoin Mars on July 4th. So we could get a correction heading into July, certainly possible. And then mid-July, we get this concerning Uranus squaring the Bitcoin Venus. Uranus, the planet of technology and crypto, squaring Venus, the planet of money and what we value. So that's not very good for the Bitcoin chart on July 13th. So we could get another, dare I say, we could get another correction in July. Not sure if it's going to be a small one or a big one. Other than that, the rest of July looks pretty good. So it's very tricky to make any predictions here, but it's good news that we have bullish astrology for the Nasdaq, for the Dow Jones, and then Bitcoin is a little bit volatile, more volatility here. I'm wondering if even, since there was a couple negative transits for Bitcoin there, I'm wondering even if we could see a drop in the Bitcoin dominance, but we have not seen any signs of that. It's just been holding up so unbelievably strong here, breaking out into new all-time highs with the Bitcoin dominance. But man, is there a chance that we see it drop off for July, and that would bring more liquidity into the altcoins for a little altcoin run? Definitely not guaranteed. I'm just kind of thinking out loud because Bitcoin shows a lot of volatility. Some of the altcoins are showing really bullish, at least astrology. So we'll have to see if we can get an altcoin run for July. But I'm definitely not going to predict it with any sort of confidence or probability because, man, it's been almost impossible to predict the altcoin run for this cycle. It's been crazy. Okay, let's see if we have any commenters today. Would love Ethereum to get off the floor. Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping for a correction to the downside and then we rip. Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning towards that. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I mean, man, still trying to break through here. I mean, if we can break through this yellow 21 simple moving average line, I mean, if we can break out of here, that would be super bullish. And Ethereum is showing some strength, not a lot of strength whatsoever, but it hasn't shown this much strength in a while. Maybe the last time it showed this kind of strength was over here, and like when the heck was that? 2024 in May. It's starting to show a little bit, but I mean, man, the last week it just broke through this support, so that's concerning. That's not good. So, man, Ethereum has been very disappointing, and I know many people are disappointed. But hold your horses. If we can hold for another 6 months, we might be very happy by that point. Maybe even within the next couple months. We shall see. What else was I going to look at here? Yeah, so correction to the downside. Yeah, it's certainly possible. It's tricky because look at this, at least for Bitcoin, we've been, really holding this downward channel here. And we're now hitting up on potential resistance, and we're seeing resistance in the chart. It still hasn't broken through this area of like 108 basically. Now, it could get another pump to like 109 maybe. But if it gets rejected from there, then we could be heading down again to be testing, maybe the 100 level, 100K level, maybe the 102 level. And if it breaks through those levels, then it could even go all the way down to like 96. Yeah, it's certainly possible. And then the worst case, like 93. Such as that. That would be a great buying opportunity. I have gone through most of my cash, so I wouldn't have a lot of cash left, but I would be buying the dip. But yeah, there'd be a lot of fear if we saw that happen in the market. There'd be a lot of fear, as that could also. Well, yeah, I'm wondering what July holds. July is really tricky. July's really tricky. We'll have to see what we get around June 30th if we're going to get a dump with those couple negative transits I was talking about on June 30th, the square to the Bitcoin moon, and then July 4th, we're getting a fairly nasty Mars transit on the Bitcoin chart. So we'll see how low that could take us. Really not sure. It's very difficult to predict here. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Definitely subscribe. I created kind of a new format on this video talking about the Nasdaq, which we haven't talked about in a long while. Let me know what you guys think. If you'd like me to continue to cover the Nasdaq more often, and as well as the S&P 500, Dow Jones, the macro markets. This can be very helpful because typically when the Nasdaq, the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones and also the Russell 2000 break out into new all-time highs, that's when we get the crazy, amazing, euphoric altcoin run that we are all hoping and rooting for. Similar to what we saw in 2021 and 2017, that mega run. So we still have a lot more to do with the Dow Jones, also with the Russell 2000, just a lot more work to do. So we'll see how long it takes to work through here and break out into a new all-time high. That would be extremely bullish for crypto. All right, so stay tuned for that, everybody. If you like this video, please smash that subscribe button and share it with someone who could benefit. All right, we're building a community here, and I'm gonna have a lot more things to talk about, guys. As one thing I'm extremely excited about, hint, hint, is an upcoming videos I'm going to start making, which is geared towards how we can use crypto to create a better, more sustainable world. All right, we're seeing so many problems in the world these days with, geopolitics, WARs, conflicts breaking out, tremendous corruption that we're seeing in just about every government on the planet, leaders that are failing us, corporations that have fallen prey to, nefarious practices and arguable morals and ethics, to say it best. And if we can all come together and, when we get a nice crypto bull run and we take our profits and we invest in more sustainable world. And my vision is to create sustainable communities, eco-villages, where we can live together, share resources, raise the next generation together in a much more sustainable, effective way where everyone is able to live their best life. All right, hope that makes sense. So that's just a little sneak preview of something that I'm going to be talking a lot more about. That's a vision I've had for more than a decade, is a web of global eco-villages around the world, and how these are going to be all interconnected, and it's just going to be absolutely phenomenal. So that's what I'm most excited about, potentially in my lifetime. This is, I think, a very, very long-term vision that I've had. And I'm now seeing kind of, maybe the future that we can create with crypto, that it's not just to buy stuff with and just continue this ending consumerism lifestyle, but to create a much better world, to create new economies, to create new governance systems, new, more sustainable ways of living together. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Juan says, thanks, hermano. Hoping your baby and family are well. Really appreciate that, Juan. Much love. Refi. I'm not sure what that means, but refi. Okay. Yeah, anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Juan says, I was deep in the regenerative finance rabbit hole a year ago. Beautiful. Looking forward to your series. Wow. Excellent. Super glad to hear that, Juan. Yeah, I have a feeling a lot of you who are subscribed and watching my videos, maybe even if you're not subscribed, are going to be really drawn to this vision. Maybe you've had similar visions as well, as creating a more regenerative ways of living financially and with resources, food, water, growing our own food with permaculture, having fresh water nearby. Basically being mostly or completely off grid, and having sustainable energy. There's so many solutions, and we should just bring it all together and just create this incredible, new society that we all know is possible. We have the technologies there, the finances are there. It's all possible, and we just gotta come together, make it happen, take action. All right, beautiful. So glad to hear that you guys are resonating with this, and tune in for the next video. Be coming out with a brand new July Bitcoin and crypto astrology update video, which I'm really excited about. And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, peace.